Welcome to the Narrowing Path, Walking the Spiritual Walk. My name is Steve Van Einstein. Thank you all for joining me today as we go through and we do today's reading from James Allen's Daily Meditations. And we're getting started on August and it's following up a pretty substantial, pretty impactful month of July. And yesterday's I did enjoy. It was a pretty significant, pretty dramatic pivot, I think. From what we were talking about. It was almost fire and brimstone, and then this is a softer entrance to this month, talking about being of goodwill and what it brings to us, right? How we should be acting in those ways. So, but definitely a lot of great stuff on yesterday. So I'm looking forward to today's. This will, of course, will be fresh to you and fresh to me, meaning this will be the first time I read or hear this meditation right on this podcast with y'all. So you'll get my genuine response, reactions, observations, and what I relate to about the reading. So here we go. This will be today's reading, August 2nd, from James Allen's Daily Meditation. To enter into a realization of the infinite and eternal is to rise superior to time. That's a big statement. To refrain from all participation in evil and discord, to cease from all resistance to evil and from the omission of that which is good, and to fall back upon unswerving obedience to the holy calm within, is to enter into the inmost heart of things, is to attain to a living, conscious experience of that eternal and infinite principle which must ever remain a hidden mystery to the merely perceptive intellect. Until this principle is realized, the soul is not established in peace, and he who so realizes is truly wise. There's one great law which exacts unconditional obedience, one unifying principle to which the basis of all diversity, one eternal truth wherein all of the problems of earth pass away like shadows. To realize this law, this unity, this truth, is to enter into the infinite, is to become one with the eternal. Wow. First run through, that's kind of cryptic. I'm not going to lie, that was a lot of unpacking. That's probably going to have to go into this one. I like what it's getting to, that inside of all of us is this one truth. There's this one path that we're supposed to walk. It's this one way of living that aligns with that calmness, peace, and serenity, right? And I believe that law is love. And that is the God of your understanding. That is their creator, your source, the nature, whatever it is, it's love. That's how it manifests. That's how it is felt almost, or how it is perceived. So, but that opening line, I couldn't help but say that's a big statement, right? Enter into the realization of the infinite and eternal. To enter into the realization of the infinite and eternal is to rise superior to time. Now, that, in its most literal sense, is extremely important and potent. Enter into a realization of the infinite and eternal is to rise superior to time. So it means time is of no consequence. Time, like whatever progresses and whatever has been, it's always been this one true law, right? The infinite and the eternal will always be there. And I've kind of talked about that actually on this podcast, how I believe in the wisdom that's spoke about by James Allen, because what he stumbled upon and or what he wrote about more so um wasn't the first time. It was maybe reconstructing it and putting it in his own words and giving some more clarity around it maybe. And which I appreciate and I love it. Everything else I've read, I still um my foundation's built on this. Um but we've talked about that, realizing the infinite and eternal is to rise superior to time, right? It's just always been there. That the spirituality that we talk about here, the way of living, way of thinking, our intentions, that's always been rediscovered. It's always been passed down. These are truths. The narrowing path, walking that spiritual walk that I say every time at the beginning of this. That's where the truth is, because it keeps showing up. People say math is um well, math will always be math because 2 plus 2 will always be 4, no matter how you pronounce 2, right? No matter how you pronounce 4, no matter what the symbols look like, that will always be. And I found that to be the same in these spiritual teachings. Um, so it's a pretty big statement to say here, to enter into realization, infinite and eternal is to rise superior to time. So you become in line and you become a part of the stream that time has no effect on, meaning the way of life that will always prove correct, always be the tried and true way. So, all right, now into the main body of this: to refrain from all participation in evil and discord. So that's just really what committing yourself to this way of life, to cease from all resistance to evil and from the omission of that which is good. So doing that which is good, that's a very to cease from all resistance to evil and to cease from the omission of that which is good, and to fall back upon unswerving obedience to that holy calm within is to enter the in is to enter into the inmost heart of things, is to attain to a living conscious experience with the eternal infinite principle, which must ever remain a hidden mystery to the merely perceptive intellect. The mind can never grasp it. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about that connection with God. That's not something you can necessarily articulate. When you feel the presence of the God of your understanding, the power greater than yourself, all of those words we use, whatever that looks like for you, whatever you feel like that means to you, when we feel that presence, when we feel that connection, that's something outside of our intellectual capacity and intellectual grasp to actually be able to articulate or explain, at least so far. So, to start at the top of that whole sentence, to cease from all resistance to evil. So, quit fighting evil and quit trying not to admit what's the right thing to do, and go back to just obedience and to practice, to serving that power greater than yourself, to be of service to God is what we're talking about here. Your God, your understanding, but to be of service to that power and find it. And you'll know it when you strike a chord with that peace and calmness inside your heart, inside your chest. It is to enter into the inmost heart of things, is to attain to a living conscious experience of that eternal and infinite principle, which must ever remain a hidden mystery to the merely perceptive intellect. So we finally become in line with this energy and power and connection that our mind was trying to make sense of and trying to manipulate into. And when we live this way of life, when we stop fighting evil, meaning we don't sit there and battle with it, because the only way to defeat our own evil tendencies is to surrender to them and to practice a different way of living. Again, if you want to quit lying, you don't just walk around saying, I'm not going to lie. You walk around saying, I will be honest. I will tell the truth. I'll be forthright. I'll be steadfast with this. That is what you do. Same with this. We practice the good, not just stop doing the bad. Much different. Until this principle is realized, the soul is not established yet in peace, and he who so realizes is truly wise. And I can tell you from my personal experience, I never had true peace until I accepted and found a different way of living. And I stumbled really upon a God of my understanding, upon a power greater than myself that I never believed in, never thought was there. I always intellectually tried to explain it away. And but when I finally surrendered to it, and I felt a connection to the world and that peace and that presence, everything changed. There's one great law which extracts unconditional obedience, one unifying principle which is the basis of all diversity. Excuse me. One eternal truth wherein all the problems of earth pass away like shadows. When we get out of our own way and we start to be of service to this God of our understanding, our problems just seem to melt away. They really do. Perspective sets in, understanding sets in, peace and trust and faith, unknowing overcomes us. And eventually, these things come true. Problems of the earth pass away like shadows. It's a unifying principle. It's when people that have gone through a spiritual awakening or enlightenment or awareness or whatever you like to call it, through whatever path you found it, you can walk up to someone and tell, I think. I do believe you can sense when somebody has had that change of heart and soul. And it's so powerful. All right, and now for the last line. To realize this law, this unity, this truth is to enter into the infinite, is to become one with the eternal. When you come into that connection, that stream of life, when you come into that understanding, that presence, and that practice, you become one with that infinite law, those principles, with that way of life, with that living, with those rules and those concepts and practices and virtues and principles and discipline and all those other things we talked about that always will stand the test of time. Always. So, all right, that's where we're in for the day. And another great one just about walking this path and really embracing it truly and fully, which is just an amazing, amazing thing. So, thank you all for joining me again today, though. I really always appreciate it and I'm grateful for it. And I will be back again tomorrow. So, until next time, thanks.